We have a lot of stereotypes about food right now. We talk about what food our grandmothers ate and how pure it was. We talk about how one original way is the only style to make Texas barbecue. We talk about how the food that we get from 5 miles away is the best food that we could possibly have. And there's truth in all of those stories. There's something really important in how our grandmothers cook. There's something really important in how Texas barbecue has been remembered over time. There's something really important about knowing where your food is from. But we also have a situation where we live in a state where 100 years ago, Upton Sinclair had already written The Jungle, and much of our food that was available to us in the state of Texas already was being produced outside of the state and was being transported in rail cars and moving over great distances. We have moments where people have used a new innovation in how to build a pit and how to cook barbecue, and sometimes we look back at that as being quintessential or important, but it might be something that comes from the 1940s. It might be something that comes from the 1920s. It could come from the 1800s. When we start to talk about food, when we start to put together, what's your story? How do you remember this? How does your culture remember this? And I put together, what's my story? How do I remember this? How does my culture remember this? Then we can talk about why it matters and why we believe those different things. We can start to tease out what the historical record tells us by going and investigating and doing the hard work of finding receipts from grocery stores, receipts from general stores, who was keeping a record of what they planted in their garden 100 years ago, what grandmother kept her recipe book that we can now look back to and figure out what did she cook and why. But we also can then take those stories and put them in conversation with other people's stories and figure out where we don't remember things the same way. Because when we do that, then we can talk about why is it important? Why is it important that my community, my culture remembers this in one way, others do it in a different way, and where do they come together?